Hi, I'm Art.
Hi, I'm Alice.
Welcome and thanks for watching this video of our first trip together.
Art and I had just reconnected after 25 years, and he asked me what I was going to do for my birthday. I told him I no longer celebrate birthdays. Why celebrate getting old? But Art insisted that we had to do something.
Well, I gave her some options, and one of them was Paris.
Now, we both have been to Paris before, so the museums, the Mona Lisa, and other typical tourist destinations weren't really on our list.
So off to Paris we went with the goal of toasting champagne on Alice's birthday at the top of the Eiffel Tower.
Long flight, but we made it.
Now, Alice can sleep anywhere, but I needed more Xanax than the doctor would prescribe. So our first challenge after getting there was getting from the airport to the hotel.
Option A, it's a 30 to 45 minute ride by taxi, 60 to 80 euros. We were staying 5 minutes from the Eiffel Tower.
Option B is to take the train down the scenic route to Paris and then catch a cheaper cab to the hotel.
The train was a bad idea. The walk to the train was endless with escalators and more escalators, and the train was crowded. We were tired, and then we had to get from the train to the street. More escalators. Take the cab.
Now, this is the area where we spent our 2 days in Paris. Location was everything. Our hotel was 15 minutes from everywhere that we wanted to go.
We visited the fountains and the Ulm Museum of Natural History while we waited to go to the Eiffel Tower. It takes some planning. You just can't walk up to the Eiffel Tower and expect to go on. You need reservations in advance.
Now, the wait time was not too bad to get to the elevators and up to the top of the tower. We also took a Sunday morning cruise, which you can get from many different companies and are readily available.
Well, here's the first picture of me, of course, with the Eiffel Tower in the background.
And here's Alice in front of the fountain, and then there's the fountain with no Alice. She just can't seem to stay still.
I did take a quick rest, though. We had some time to kill, and this was a nice little park area to take a break.
This was actually the first area that we went to. It wasn't time to take the tour, so we walked around the old Museum of Natural History.
There were all kinds of things to see, from Christianity to Japanese art.
Now, this was really an amazing museum, not that large, actually, but we found a lot of fascinating things. There's some of the Oriental art that she mentioned, and I think this picture of the bird coming up, this is one of the ones that you took.
Yes, I did, honey. I love taking pictures of animals, stuffed or unstuffed.
Well, and speaking of stuff, there was very little to eat between the hotel and by the time we actually got to the museum. And this guy reminded me of what you look like when you eat too much Nutella, because that was the only thing available to eat. Sandwiches of Nutella with bananas. They were horrible. I don't like Nutella.
And that's what I'm saying. We know how much you love Nutella. Not.
Well, it's finally time to take the tour. It was around a 10-minute walk from the fountain area to the Eiffel Tower.
We crossed the bridge over the Seine River, and if you're looking for any size Eiffel Tower, keyring, whatever, you can find a lot of street vendors selling them.
The trip to the tower was smooth. They had around a 30-minute wait to get aboard the elevator, and then you had to take actually 2 elevators. I think it was 1 set of stairs to get to the top.
We were at the top, and it's time for my champagne birthday toast. I'll tell you that all the places I expected to spend my birthday sipping champagne on top of the Eiffel Tower wasn't one of them.
I had to finish your glass and start the photography that is absolutely amazing.
There were many landmarks that can be seen, like the Arch de Triomphe.
Now, fortunately for us, it was a clear day, and this is the area actually where the fountain and the museum was that you can see very clearly. And just a few clouds in the sky, but not that much. Anywhere you looked, you got a great shot.
It was beautiful. Here's a picture that I took of Art taking pictures of Paris.
And here we are with Mr. Eiffel himself now, Alexander Gustave Eiffel. Was made famous, of course, by building the Eiffel Tower, but many people don't know he was also involved with the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, we both thought that was very interesting, one of those little-known facts. we took a tour of the Seine River on a chilly Sunday morning. We started from the base of the Eiffel Tower and saw some amazing sights along the way.
There we were, all bundled up. There's, of course, a lot of other people that didn't look quite as bundled up. Now, there was a lot of bridges on the river, as you might well imagine. And, of course, being Paris, they're very old. So you'll see a lot of just very interesting old statues and carvings and things like that. And almost a tunnel-like look that you get in this particular picture. But it really was nice.
It really was. The river widened out here, and it got warmer as the sun came up, thank goodness. And as you can see, we shed a few clothes.
Now, there's many museums and other elegant structures that line the river. There's just like almost apartment buildings, and right here.
This is the first look of the Notre Dame Cathedral. You can see it's being rebuilt.
It's going to take them a long time to redo that structure.
Yeah.
There's also some great parks and recreation areas that are all along the river, and I know that some of them have been used in movies. There's a shot of Alice, and there's one of the longboats actually that you see kind of straddling the river at that time. But here's the park.
This? Yeah, that's what was in the movie. This was in the movie Forget Paris, and it was with Billy Crystal and Deborah Winger. I liked the movie.
Did you?
Uh-huh.
Actually saw that movie?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. There's again, so it's not just all buildings and museums. There's a lot of park area and a lot of people out there enjoying the recreation. And of course, as you've seen throughout the tour here of the river and downtown Paris, a lot of boats. This one being one of my favorites because it just kind of brings out the pirate in me. I can imagine all kinds of parties and great champagne being drank upon that particular little vessel there on the river.
If you go to France, take the time to visit a couple of the villages outside of Paris. Really important. Paris to Reims is a 45-minute nonstop train ride. It was really a nice ride.
Now, Reims is the heart of the Champagne region of France. There's over 250 champagne houses, and 200 million bottles of champagne are kept in its cellars. A long list of people who actually have champagne wineries there. It's a nonstop train ride, by the way. You get there pretty quickly.
And it was a nice view, too. From the train station to the hotel, when we got there, was about a 10-minute walk. This was important because you were dragging luggage, but so was everybody else. It was a flat, easy journey. It's important to do the research, though, ahead of time to make sure your stay in these small towns is more enjoyable if you don't have to walk real far.
There was kind of a pedestrian street there you can see in the green in front of our hotel that we walked several times because there was all kinds of shops and restaurants just like this one.
In Paris, we were on the go all the time, so this was the first time we had a chance to sit down and relax, enjoy a meal. Our first meal was at this great outdoor restaurant. We people watched, and at the end of the meal was the best creme brulee I ever had. It was sweet with a light crunchy top and a creamy custard.
And she left none. Speaking of sweets, there were pastry shops everywhere, and we did our part to sample every flavor of macaroons.
Sure did. On our first night, we walked around Reims and we kind of window shopped, and we came upon this store. It was so amazing, but of course it was closed, so we knew we had to go back the next day. And inside, there was everything from large sculptures to Zen frogs. It was the kind of shop, that you go in, draws you in, and you just want to spend hours. Well, the owner, too, was so cool. He was real charming, and he was very proud of his store. We couldn't leave without buying something. Turns out, we bought several things. This Rodin sculpture, the coolest rooster ever, and I kicked myself for not buying that leopard. But Art had to have the Zen frog.
And he sits on the counter in my kitchen and see him every day. Now, no matter where you walked through the city of Reims, it was a very comfortable place. Everybody was very friendly. The town was very clean, and just a wonderful place to spend the few days that we did. Lots of little shops. In fact, you'll see a shop up here on the left that we proudly announce that Alice shopped here.
It was a sweet shop. That's why.
Of course, it was a sweet shop. And again, whether you were going around the shops or wandering off the side streets, as this one is, everything was just absolutely very clean and very safe, and just a great town. Now, this is one of the older monuments in Reims, and it's called the Mars Gate, from the Roman times, built at the end of the 2nd century. And this was one of the largest arches in the Roman world, and it was a gateway to Reims, just absolutely magnificent. You can see all the old sculpture that, once again, dates back to the 2nd century. When you look at this, you just have to get some concept of really the age of the carvings and the sculptures that you're looking at. It is magnificent. Everywhere you go, you find things that are unexpected. And in the town of Reims, it was the Reims Cathedral. We had no idea what this cathedral was all about until we went and actually looked at it.
Right. Now, the Reims Cathedral is also called the Cathedral of Notre Dame at Reims. And Reims is recognized as worldwide one of the most defining models of Gothic art. What I found was so moving was the spiritual feeling that I got when I was in this cathedral. There was a prayer bench that you could kneel, and candles you could light. It was magnificent to be able to go into this entire huge structure and just see the beauty and marvel at how they built this stuff. It was amazing.
Now, the detail that you'll see in all of these statues is just amazing. The original cathedral was destroyed in 1210 in a fire. And right after that, they began to rebuild it. We have some interior shots now, and you just marvel at the stained glass. And one of my favorite pictures coming up of the cathedral shows an absolute, this is a great
I
one.
love that one. That's one of my favorites.
Yes, and all of the little statues that are on either side of the stained glass there. I took some close-ups of those statues because it really is hard to see any of the really good detail on the statues. Here you'll just see a series of panels that were the ones to the right of that large section of stained glass, and I think they're depicting all kinds of people, workers, women, men, soldiers. So it really is, again, there you see the incredible detail in those particulars. And then the higher they went, I think that they got, not quite so much detail.
But you got to remember, this cathedral was built in like 1211, honey.
There's another just famous shot. We'll just let you take in this picture. There are over 2,300 statues that adorn this cathedral. And this is another one of the great shots where you see the arches on either side heading up toward the front of the cathedral. And here's some of the big people that you talked about that were coronated.
The coronations of the kings,
Right. Joan of Arc was there. And lots of other folks.
A lot of those famous guys.
Louis the 15th and 14th
And the 10th.
13th.
Yeah. I didn't see this as many times as I went back to cathedral.
This was actually kind of up toward the front of the cathedral, and you had to look for it, but this is just an incredible model of the cathedral itself, and it was quite chilling to look at it.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed I didn't see it, but I did find the cathedral so moving that I went back 3 times. It was just, when you went in there, I don't know, you feel closer to God. It was just the most amazing place for me. And you could light candles for people, and there was a kneeling bench where you could actually kneel and say a prayer. I did get real emotional.
And there was always people in there actually for different services, and so it was kind of funny to try to do the photography without interrupting somebody's spiritual experience. This is another one of my favorite pictures in that this is way above the center of the doorway or the entrance to the cathedral, and the amazing amount of detail that you see in this. There are some of the open-winged statues that are amazing to look at.
Well, what makes that so amazing is apparently that's very uncommon to have the open-winged angels.
And those are on the front of the cathedral.
There's that favorite, beautiful, gorgeous stained glass. That looks like something you look in a little kaleidoscope.
There you can see once again the detail of the statues that we did a close-up on a moment ago. But you see really how high up on the structure they are.
I think that they're depicting the coronation of kings, since so many were, coronated there.
And we'll say goodbye here in a moment of silence, and then we are moving on to Epernay. Now, Epernay is about a 30-minute train ride. It's really inexpensive. It costs around $7, and it's the capital of many of the Champagne cellars. Actually, Champagne Avenue is right there. There you'll find the Hotel Moet. The Avenue de Champagne, as I mentioned, is there. And we kind of wandered around, again, the small little town, the streets, some of the cafes. It was just a very picturesque place to go. The Moet Chandon, where I know Alice wanted to buy a lot of stuff.
Yeah, the price is at $5,000 a bottle. I couldn't get that. But it was really interesting, though, to go in there and see all of that. You know, what I did notice in Reims, there were more traffic. In Epernay. There was more traffic in Epernay than there was in Reims. Reims, a lot more walking areas.
This is the Mercer Champagne House, and this was the tour that we took underneath the streets. This was actually a train that was in the limestone caves where they keep all the bottles, and it was adorned by various sculptures, that apparently, being a woman having a little sip of champagne herself. Some of them, quite frankly, were just a little bit scary.
Yeah, but can you imagine? I mean, look at the tunnels and stuff, but yet they did all these sculptures. This is back there where they did the Dome. We saw the Dome Perignon.
And there's some French cars, just because
I wanted to take pictures of French cars.
Another one of the French, the champagne houses that are there. And these are the gardens of one of the hotels that are very close to the center of the city.
This was absolutely one of my favorite places. I want you to look at that hedge and look at the different colors of the greenery. And here's my sweetie taking some more pictures.
Alice taking pictures of me taking pictures. And there's a nice little fountain. Again, it's just a great shot. And there's Alice looking just absolutely happy.
Aww.
Now, our final stop is Hautvilliers, which is pronounced 17 different ways, but we just call it Hautvilliers. There's the vineyards on the way. There's the little shop where we got a whole bunch of keychains.
This little town or little village doesn't even have a traffic light. I don't even think a stop sign. It was the most beautiful little village, though. You have to tell them about those things, honey. You love them.
Those are all signs that are just kind of for the merchants. And they're just so quaint because they hang them out there and they give you some idea of what
it
they
depicts whether it's a bar or whether it's a shoe shop or whatever. Look at the flowers. I'm amazed at these. Every wall, everywhere, there were flowers.
I was amazed that you could go to the bathroom in the Dom Perignon toilet.
Look at the valley, honey. Remember this? This street goes down the end, and you can see this huge valley of the vineyards.
And here's the abbey where Dom Perignon is actually buried. It's not all that far from the center of town. This is the inside of the chapel, which unfortunately, like many old chapels, is falling into disrepair.
Yeah, that saddened me, but it still was magnificent. And the pipe organ that was at the back of this was amazing. And there's art telling me or showing me all about Dom Perignon, which, I didn't even know it was a real guy until you told me. I didn't. I didn't know it.
Just some made-up name.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Again, you've got some stained glass, and then there's a little information about Dom Perignon, a visionary who developed revolutionary grape growing and winemaking techniques. He had a very happy group of people that came to his church every Sunday.
Oh, I'm sure he did. It still was magnificent. I really enjoyed it.
Well, we have to say goodbye to Paris now. Say goodbye to the Eiffel Tower.
It was magnificent. I hope you guys enjoyed our tour of France.
Well, goodbye to France. We truly loved Paris. Reims was a dream. Epernay and Hauteville were charming and unforgettable. Now, this was just the beginning of Art and Alice's travels together. I hope you'll follow us on our YouTube channel and stay tuned for our great journey through Ireland, and then we'll be off to Hawaii. I'm Art.
I'm Alice.
And we're on the run.
run.